Hello and welcome to a brand new episode. Where in this episode, I'll be reviewing a video by a gentleman by name Paul Williams. He claims to have been an evangelical Christian earlier, having been born again, but since a few years, I guess, he has shifted his religion. He is now an ardent Islamic proponent. He kinds of finds fault with his old religion, that is Christianity, for a very simple reason. But his videos are very interesting. And I recently happened to watch one of his video, in which he claims that the early Christians did not believe that Jesus died, crucified, and died on the cross, which, according to him, synchronizes with the Quranic, writings. So, come on, let's review this particular video and be with me. Let's get started.
In this video, I want to share with you some fascinating testimony from the first century about how some Christians did not believe that Jesus, in fact, was crucified. And this belief, of course, we find taught in Islam. It's there in the Quran. And I want to read a passage from a very prominent early Christian bishop. His name is Ignatius. He's normally known in the church as Saint Ignatius of Antioch. And he was martyred, actually. He was sent to Rome to be eaten by lions, apparently. And en route to Rome from Antioch, which is a very big Roman city in the ancient world, it's hardly in existence today. It's found in modern Turkey, actually. On his way to Rome, he wrote 7 letters. And one of them tells us about the beliefs of some people that Jesus wasn't crucified. Now, this man, as I say, was a first century bishop. He was the second or third after Peter, according to some sources, and he was born in the early 30s AD, so around the time that Jesus left the scene. So his life overlapped even with some of Jesus' disciples, like his brother James, for example, Jesus' brother James, who was head of the church in Jerusalem, and we'll kind of come back to him in a minute. But in the meantime, let's go back to the letter I mentioned, found in this book, Early Christian Writings, published by Penguin Classics. And one of the letters is called his letter to the Magnesians. And in section 9, it says this. I'll read the passage and then I'll try and unpack it a bit, because it's not always very clear to modern ears what he might be saying. He says, "We have seen how former adherents of the ancient customs have since attained to a new hope." He's talking here about people who follow Judaism and becoming Christians, actually. "So that they have given up keeping the Sabbath." So these good people have given up keeping the Sabbath and now order their lives by the Lord's Day instead. Now, the Lord's Day in the Christian calendar, of course, is Sunday rather than Saturday. So they switched from the Jewish to the Christian calendar. Now, and then he says, "The day when life first dawned for us, thanks to him," meaning Jesus, "and his death. That death, though," Ignatius says, "though some deny it, is the very mystery which has moved us to become believers." That little phrase there, though some deny, he's aware of people who call themselves Christians in the first century who deny that Jesus died on a cross. And as I say, this is a belief found in Islam, of course, in the Quran. So this is a remarkable first century testimony from one Christian believer, a prominent Christian, about other Christians.
Well, why is it that you are trying to push your agenda into the sentences of Ignatius? Ignatius very clearly mentions that the people who believe in the death of Jesus are believers. What does that mean? Who are these believers? The Christians. But you somehow twist and turn the sentences to kind of mean these people who do not believe in the death of Jesus are also Christians. The sentence does not say that, dude. All that you're doing is trying to force your interpretation into it. If I write a book today and say that some do not believe in his death, my intent would be the Muslims. But would that mean that Some other Christians do not believe in his death? No. And that some, who made them Christians? Ignatius clearly tells in these sentences, or that sentence, that they are not believers. What more do you need? He just negates these people from the camp of Christians. It's closed, shut, dusted, whatever it is.
Christians who did not agree with Ignatius. Now, Ignatius, of course, condemns these people. That's not my point. My point is they existed, and this is evidence that they existed from a prominent Christian source. So that's the first. It's got quite an interesting fact, really, isn't it? That these believers did exist.
Oh, wow. I'm pretty happy that you finally found out some problem with Christianity and how it deviated from the truth which you supposedly have it now. Well, you had claimed that you were a Christian. If you were a Christian and you knew some of the Christian historic basis, uh, how did you ever miss out the presence of Gnostics? And among them, this kind of sect called Docetists from the first, second century Christianity. Don't you think you're a bit late when you're finding out about these heretic sects when you're well into Islam? Had you found out earlier, or had you known it well earlier before you came to Islam, you would not have made this mistake. Well, let me teach you a bit of things about Gnostics and Docetists. These Gnostics, they never believed in the physical human being in Jesus Christ. They always believed that he was a phantom, a spiritual being who never came in flesh, though he had an appearance uh, for us to see, but he was never a fleshly human being. And this is exactly what John condemns in 1 John chapter 4, where he is seen resisting these kinds of notion that kind of is spreading. I don't know whether it is within the Christian church or outside the Christian church, but the apostles and the church fathers did well to throw them out, and this heretic sect is no more here. But after 6th century, the same doctrine kind of got into a person by name Muhammad, and he spread again, saying that Jesus never died. And that is what you are following, my friend Paul Williams. And let me go and show you something more about these people, because my saying may not matter to you. So let me show you some records, and that should suffice your need now. Let me read it for you. Notice this. This is from just a simple Google search. It's not something which is very complicated. The world knows it, Mr. Paul Williams. It says different Gnostics believed different things about the death and resurrection of Jesus. But some were people whom we know as Docetists, who believed that the death and suffering of Jesus were things that only appeared to happen. It's very similar to how the Quran says, it appeared to them. Isn't that how Quran says? Or they happened, didn't really happen to the core of Jesus' spiritual reality. How different is your Quran from this Docetists? Tell me. Now this is from Encyclopedia Britannica. Notice the highlighted portion where he says that the Docetists asserted that Christ was born without any participation of matter, and that all the acts and sufferings of his life, including the crucifixions, were mere appearances. Remember that it appeared to them in Quran. And then they consequently denied Christ's resurrection and ascension into heaven. So what exactly is the difference between Islam and Docetists with regards to Christ? Aren't they the same? And now, who are you to me You are just a Tacitist, nothing more. Now, would you please notice the very last statement? This last sentence says Docetism was attacked by all opponents of Gnosticism, especially by Bishop Ignatius of Antioch in the second century. What you read is basically the same. Ignatius is attacking Docetism, and you kind of think that this is part of early Christianity, and therefore that's the right way.
There's obviously that Jesus wasn't crucified. And here we have evidence that first century Christians, some also did not believe that Jesus was horribly put to death on a cross, that in fact it might have appeared that he was, according to the Quran, but in fact God saved him. He supernaturally saved him from his enemies, as indeed Jesus appealed to God, according to the Gospels, that he be rescued, and God answered his prayer. That would be a possible Muslim view, I think.
Well, if he believes that these Docetists were true just because it confirms with Islam, I hope he also believes that Jesus was not a physical human being, as the Docetists believe. They believed he was a phantom, a spiritual being which somehow came into this earth and did not have any material body of flesh and blood which we can touch and see. Then good luck to him. To me, Islam is a worthy descendant of Docetism. They both have the same view with regards to Jesus Christ. Now, the last point which he raised, which was regarding his death, his prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, I guess, where he prayed, Father, let thy will be done, not my will. If possible, take away this cup. But the encapsulation mechanism of his prayer was to give his will to the will of the Father. And according to the will of the Father, throughout the Gospels, it's very clear Jesus died and he resurrected, rose back from the death. That is why in Revelation chapter 1, verse 18, he says that I am the living one. I was dead and I am alive forevermore. I have the keys of hell and death with me. What more do you need? You just can't pick up some verses out of context and do this. That is dishonesty to the core. If you choose to be dishonest, so be it. That is a hallmark of some people. Now, as he continues the video, he jumps to a totally different sphere. It is not concerning the death and crucifixion of Jesus, but it is with some of the other writings of Ignatius, which I would be more than happy to address in the next video. But as with this video, I would like to end it, and may the good Lord bless you and keep you till we meet again. Bye.